This is my very own custom Lego TIE Fighter, and it's based off of the 2021 Lego set TIE Fighter. Mine, however, is much more proportional to how a TIE Fighter should look and feel. Not only is it accurate visually, but the hatch opens up and sits a TIE Fighter pilot, and the windshield actually is transparent and the TIE Fighter pilot can see out through it. It's not blocked off. So I managed to incorporate the correct design and incorporate the right features into a very small TIE Fighter. If you've been watching my channel, you know that I'm going for a much smaller play scale size with my mocks, but I don't want to skimp out on the details. I really want all of my mocks to be very accurate, as true as possible with the correct interiors. And you can see inside that the TIE Fighter pilot barely fits in there, but he does, and it really is a Rubik's Cube of pieces that went together and can be assembled in such a way. So to get the TIE Fighter pilot inside of the TIE Fighter, you have to make sure that he is seated, and when he drops in, you have to drop it in like that, and he might get stuck, but he drops in just fine, and he'll kind of rattle in there. But once you push the hatch forward, he stays in place. And there's no rattling once he's in there because it kind of pushes him up against it, and it does lie flush. So there's like really no extra room at all. It is just perfectly snug with the cockpit, and I'm using every little square little millimeter to make this work, and I think it just turned out really well with the space provided. And all you gotta do to get him out is to turn upside down, and he falls right out. And again, just drop him in, and there you go. I also created a custom stand for my TIE Fighter that allows it to point upwards or downwards, and it just sits in place by being cradled in between these two arms that hold its wings, and gives it some really good support, but allows it to be picked up quite easily. A lot of people were very bipolar about the 2021 TIE Fighter, and I had some mixed feelings about it because I did like the size of the wing, but obviously the cockpit made it look kind of cute, and it was just incorrect with a proportionate scale. However, the reason why you want a TIE Fighter this size is because it allows you to make an Imperial base mock with so much more details inside of it. The prime example is Groovy Bones, who created a fantastic Imperial landing pad with TIE Fighters on the inside of his base. And there's actually 2 levels of the Imperial base being displayed. So awesome job to Groovy Bones and Beyond the Brick, who filmed this great video. I think this is an amazing example of why you want to go with a play scale size. 1/45th scale actually is technically minifig scale at the smallest end of the spectrum, and you can fit so much more into large scale mocks, even though it's using a small TIE Fighter build. And though Groovy Bones doesn't use the TIE Fighter I'm using right here, he essentially captures what I'm trying to capture in my design. It was very important for me to have these really spindly arms that go out to the wings of the TIE Fighter, because that essentially is what a TIE Fighter is. And the 2021 version, it's very strong. This thing is just rock steady. I let my kids play with it, and the wings don't pop off, you know, because it has 3 pins connecting into the wings of the TIE Fighter. Mine does not have that structural support. This is strong, but it's also kind of flimsy in a way, and I'll explain further. This is very strong, this is very adult appropriate, but it's only held through a axle rod that goes through on both sides. And it stays strong, but it does wobble a bit because it's only hung on by that axle. And you'll see here, you can kind of wiggle it like this. So I'm not giving this to my kids because it gives them a lot of leverage to then tweak this. And so it is strong in that sense, but it's not kid strong. I'll give you guys a peek into how this is structured. Essentially, this is the backbone of the ship. These 2 axles go into this piece, which is used for cars and trucks and Lego, and this holds up the entire model. This stays very strong because if there was multiple pieces connecting these axles, it would want to rip the TIE Fighter apart. And it did when I first built it because I didn't have this strong structure in between. But with that being there now, it does not want to fall apart. It might wobble, but it's not going to. Now, if you are to really tweak it and put some leverage on it, yeah, it's gonna mess it up. But again, this is not for kids, this is for adults. It's great for display, and you can swoosh it around. And so it is strong in a way, but it's not this rock steady type of strong. It's not gonna just not move at all. It is gonna wobble, but it's breathable in the way that it's built, and it's okay for it to do that. And I'm giving away my secrets, but honestly, this thing is built like such a Rubik's Cube, and there's so many snot techniques that go into it. I don't think anybody's gonna figure out, like, good luck. But also, this is one of my cheapest builds. I'm gonna make it most cheaply available to date, and I hope you guys really enjoy it because it is just such a pleasure the way I came up with the way it goes together. It's very much, like I said, a Rubik's Cube. Things go in different ways, and there's different submodels that come together and form this cockpit. Now, one nitpicky detail that is maybe bothersome for some people is that when you put the details of the spindles on the wings on both sides, it makes these wings a bit thicker than I would like it. I don't know a better way to do this currently with the pieces that we have available to us. And so if you look at it straight on like this, then it's gonna look real thick right there. But I mean, if you just tilt it slightly, it looks great because you get to see the spindles on the inside of the wing. And I think that's kind of important because it just adds that level of detail rather than the 2001 version that doesn't have the inside spindles, it only has the outside. So I did want to keep that. If it bothers you, you could remove them. But I did want to keep the size of this wing because I think it hits it just perfectly with the scales, and I really wanted to keep the pieces from that one, so this is a very approachable build. Because it's only 484 pieces. If you were to build that from scratch, it's only around $52 currently on Bricklink when I sourced it out. And if you modify it from the 2021 set, it's only 214 added pieces, which comes out to about $25. So you can modify your old 2021 TIE Fighter, which I got mine on sale for around like $30, and for an extra $25, you can modify it to be much more accurate and put it inside of your Imperial Mock, and it's gonna look great in there. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I'm actually kind of astonished that I was able to do this because I've seen other people put together TIE Fighters with this same size cockpit, but they can't have an opening hatch, or they have to open up the front, or they have to take off pieces. They're actually not like a bending piece that opens up. And I'm so happy with what I came up with because I don't think anybody else has been able to do this. And I love just, manipulating this around and just twisting it, and it feels so good because it does accurately portray the TIE Fighter. I think that TIE Fighters, they get a rap for being just these kind of dumb pilots, but in Andor, we saw this a really fantastic scene where to see them in the hangar, getting in there, having the music blasting, them revving up ion engines and getting the computers going. I really loved what Andor brought to us with the TIE Fighters. And that scene where they're going through the comet shards or the eye, and the TIE Fighters are getting broken up and it's messing with their communications and their targeting systems. It was just such a cool scene. I really wanted to capture a really cool TIE Fighter like Andor brought us. They showed us what a cool TIE Fighter could be, because so many times they're depicted as these, idiots, these dopes that can't hit something, but I think Andor brought the TIE Fighters into really cool bad guy territory once again, and I really am happy I was able to capture it here in LEGO.